Or make a GIF about it.
Hello and welcome to the latest episode of Nerds Amalgamated. I'm the Professor and my co-hosts are Buck and DJ.
Hey guys.
How's it going, guys?
Not too bad.
I'm fabulous.
Buck is, as always, fabulous and the DJ is not too bad. That's pretty typical for him. It's kind of a low bar to set, though. So, you guys been up to anything fun this week?
I have. Would you like me to tell you about it, or are you just asking?
Yeah, elaborate, Buck.
Lots of study, lots of learning. My game of the week, which I'll be discussing later and so forth, is been quite interesting. But yeah, and also just there's always lots of fun to be had in life. So yeah, I usually try to find good ways of enjoying myself.
Always the optimist, Buck. What about you, DJ?
The usual uni stuff. Working along the way. Paying the usual bills. Nothing special.
When you're at work, do you ever get the urge to sing that Taylor Swift song?
Which one?
The work. Is that Beyonce? I have no idea.
That's actually Rihanna, actually.
I was kind of close.
Kinda?
I had the planet right.
He suggested it was a female.
Yeah, I had famous American pop star. I was pretty close.
Actually, no, because Rihanna's not American.
I had pop star famous in America.
Because Rihanna's from Barbados.
I thought that was Beyonce.
No, Beyonce is American.
Okay.
I'm not even a fan of Beyonce, and I know that.
Watch out, you're going to have the Bay Hive after you now.
Yeah, they can come to me if they want. I don't care.
Anyway, our first topic is from Buck, and it's about things that people are fans of that aren't from America.
Hey?
You'll get it when you read your topic. You'll get it. I'm not going to spoon feed you all of my bad segues.
Okay. Well, moving along, we've got comets that are inspiring chemistry for making breathable oxygen on Mars.
You see what I mean? That's not from America, that's from space, and the scientists are fans of it.
But the scientists are American at Caltech.
Fans, they're not fans of things from America.
Well, I don't know. I'm sure they got their favourite restaurants that are in America. They're studying at Caltech. But yeah, no, we've got some interesting kinds of chemistry and physics and all sorts of stuff happening. We're taking a leaf out of science fiction, in which there's always all sorts of terraforming schemes and oxygen generators being utilised to create oxygen out of different means. We've got some professors and so forth at Caltech University who have been looking at the fact that there's oxygen generated around comets through different things, and they were trying to work out how. So we got Konstantinos Giapis, a professor of chemical engineering at Caltech, and his postdoctoral fellow, Yungsi Yao, looked at the proposed existence of a new chemical process to replicate this generation of oxygen, so to aid in space travel and also considering the idea of helping to combat climate change. So they looked at the fact that most chemical reactions require energy, which is typically provided by heat, but there's also other ways of creating oxygen, such as when water molecules are on rust or sand, etc. It tends to rip an oxygen molecule out of that structure and release it into the atmosphere. So they went to just trying to find his name. They spoke with another professor at Caltech.
Tim Miller?
Tom Miller? No.
Tom Miller, yeah.
It might be, yeah.
Tom Miller and his postdoctoral fellow, Philip Shushkov.
They worked out some various methods and so forth of demonstrating the process. And they have shown the fact that while there's massive amounts of weird science involved and chemistry, etc., because CO2 molecules are a linear molecule. So you got oxygen attached to a carbon molecule in the center with another oxygen molecule at the other end to form the chain. And what this process is doing is bending that molecule around and detaching the carbon and connecting the two oxygen to create oxygen. So, yeah, they've worked out that it's actually, they don't need huge amounts of energy to do it. And at first they thought they might need to use a particle accelerator, but they don't actually need that. They can do it at lower speeds and through the CO2 molecules or carbon dioxide molecules at a gold filter. And when it interacts with that, and it's also been electrically charged before it gets accelerated, they have this process where they suddenly generate oxygen. So unfortunately, it's not a viable process yet for producing oxygen in outer space and for combating climate change completely yet, but it does have it is a starting point. And yeah, when you look at the fact that everything always has to start somewhere and where it ends up, such as cars and flight and space travel, yeah, it's a banner day. We've got some brilliant science happening here.
Yeah, I'm wondering, like, they've got a really nice animation of the process in the article, but I'm wondering how long the gold lasts. On a molecular scale, does gold foil spout?
I don't know. They haven't actually. I haven't actually gone through and seen any mention of that actually happening. And the fact that the reason why they're using the gold is the fact that it doesn't actually react in all the other ways that other substances do with. So there's no oxidization of the material for gold. So that's the main reason why they're using that. But yeah, interesting question, and I haven't seen any answers anywhere so far that do actually mention that.
I like how the machine that Giapis? Yeah, Giapis that he's designing. It's while it's not really a particle accelerator, it's pretty interesting how the potential it can unleash.
Yeah, well, they say it's basically you've just got to have it so it's at the same speed as throwing a rock. Because this is also the same way, like, they found traces of oxygen in the atmosphere of Mars, and they think that it's actually the impact of space dust and small meteorites entering the Martian atmosphere and colliding with CO2 and so forth. So, yeah.
So that's going to be a fun. Imagine applying this apparatus onto the nearest comet. That'll be the newest way to mine oxygen.
No, the point is that it simulates what happens on the comet. So his point with the comet is that they detect oxygen on board comets, and they're saying that this process has the same effect as a very fast comet colliding with water molecules in space.
Because you got to remember, most comets are usually got a layer of ice, so going through different areas, and there's moisture released as it passes near stars and so forth, or different, and gets affected by radiation. So it releases water or moisture that then impacts against it and releases oxygen, but then recollides, and yeah, there's a whole process there. They actually do discuss that, but yeah, this is to simulate that effect in a more controlled environment. So when you're living on Mars, you don't have to go through the process of transporting huge tanks of oxygen around. You can recycle your air.
So it'd be like Total Recall.
Similar. Like, I know they have CO2 scrubbers on submarines that they use at the moment for like the US Navy and so forth. This would take it to the point where essentially it would be pretty much an indefinite ability to stay below the surface if they can get it operating.
Constantinus, start the reactor!
Yeah, I honestly, this is one of those, as I said, it's a banner day. It's a groundbreaking change in approaching the chemistry and so forth to actually produce oxygen in pretty tight, confined spaces. But also, I'm loving the fact that they're considering the fact that this can help combat global warming, because you could use this to take carbon dioxide out of the atmosphere in those areas where they're not growing trees, i.e. cities that are full of cars. Yes, I'm looking at Beijing here at the moment.
But
no, seriously, Beijing, one of the only cities in the world that's still regularly, like Beijing and a couple of others, where they have warnings where on certain days the smog is so bad, they actually put out an alert. And if you're going to walk around the city, you need to put a mask on to filter out the carbon dioxide and fumes.
Yeah, my brother's over there at the moment, and he's been, I think it's happened a couple of times in the last week. He's been giving us reports on the smog levels.
Yeah.
But I looked it up because I couldn't quite remember, and the submarine air scrubbers, you generally use quicklime, because limestone is calcium carbonate, which is calcium and carbon dioxide, or calcium and carbon, and that pulls the carbon out of the atmosphere.
Mm-hmm.
But of course, that's a limited reaction. Eventually, you run out of quicklime.
Yeah.
So I wonder, that's why I'm wondering about the lifespan of these gold foil sheets.
They only have to be a pretty fine sheet. So, yeah, I'm not sure. Maybe it could be a mesh style process. It operates kind of like a sponge.
Yeah.
And then you can somehow scrub the carbon off of it and collect it and use it for producing something else. I don't know what. But, yeah, I know because carbon, when they scrub it off, they could use it as making carbon fiber. So,
yeah, or even if they just compress it into bricks and shove it in a hole somewhere.
Well, I'm thinking more of a constructive use for it. So if they take the carbon and put it through a process where it turns it into carbon fiber, you can use it for manufacturing whatever, because you get all sorts of things being made out of carbon, printed out of carbon fiber these days, whether it's chairs or whatever. So yeah, that, or turn it into bricks for building housing. So when they get to Mars and they're building habitats, you want something that's going to help repel meteorites or anything like that because of the lower density of the atmosphere. A house made out of carbon fiber.
I think before that stage, they'd have to work out what to do about the rads, though. The going theory is that any Martian colony will have to have a very thick layer of rock over it to protect against cosmic radiation.
Okay. Well, there you go. But yeah, there's all sorts of things, and yeah, if they're digging down into rock, carbon fiber, enclosed digging machines and lined habitats help to ensure the structural integrity.
What's going to be interesting is how many of these machines will it take to maybe help out the climate problem, say in China, for example.
Yeah, that's the other thing. The gold foil needs to last long enough to absorb a certain amount of CO2. Mm-hmm. And I have no idea really what that amount is and how long. The article says, the paper says that the process happens in femtoseconds.
Yeah, and it's only they're firing 100 CO2 particles at the gold and only getting 2 oxygen particles being released.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's extremely low yield at the moment, but it's a starting point.
And in context, the atmospheric carbon is over 400 parts per million at the moment. So it's got a long way to go to be properly viable, I think, but it's exciting.
Yeah, you got to remember, when the Wright brothers first started flight with their powered flight, before that they had gliders that weren't really going that far, and then we've got the Wright brothers with powered flight, and everyone was jumping up and down with joy, and they didn't even it wasn't even 100 yards on their first flight, I don't think.
Yeah, it wasn't all that far.
And now here we sit, just not even 200 years later, and where we've got planes that are able to stay up pretty much indefinitely with plane-to-plane refueling up in the air, and we've got spaceships and so forth. So
I think NASA's even got a record for longest solar-powered flight. They had this solar-powered UAV that they flew around the world.
Well, the SR-71 we were talking about last week when we're talking about Spaceport America. That was able to circumnavigate the planet in one flight. So they used to be able to launch that up into the air, and they could refuel while flying, and that would be able to sit up there and because of the speed and everything like that, the amount of distance, they could have that circumnavigate the entire planet in less than half a day, I think it was. So they could take off just after breakfast, fly around the world, and be back in time for lunch.
That's got to be a great schedule.
Well, when you consider the speeds that thing was going at, which was it Mark 3 to... I've heard reports of Mark 7, but I've never been able to find them verified. But yeah, 3 times the speed of sound is just ridiculous sorts of speed. Like they're talking 7 to 9 Gs of acceleration and sustained acceleration as well, because it maintains that speed for a long time.
You know what I've realized with the whole oxygen, with the whole creating oxygen and stuff? I'm just wondering, this thing could potentially kill the oxygen sale business in the long run.
There's an oxygen sale business.
Like,
I know they make tanks for welding and preemie babies and stuff.
No, I meant as in like you would get some companies that would sell like bottles of air and just give to others. Like I remember one Canadian company bottled like air from Canada, mail it to China, and just give it to them for a certain price. Yeah,
but there's people out there that are buying anything. It's just a niche market thing. Like you got people out there that are water fanatics that pay hundreds or thousands of dollars for a bottle of water that's come from specific glaciers or icebergs. Like there was a group in Japan, I think it was, that would go up to the North Pole with a ship and harvest an iceberg and turn it into bottled water and sell it. So, yeah, there's always going to be people out there that are selling all sorts of things.
It does taste great, though.
Have you tasted one?
Not iceberg, but like glacial water.
Like I've tasted glacial water. I've tasted spring water from right up high in the snowy mountains. And I have to say, I love that because that was pretty much as pure as you can get.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I can't see the point of going up and stealing an iceberg and then charging thousands of dollars for a bottle. Like if I've got someone who's willing to pay me thousands of dollars for a bottle of water, I'm quite happy to go and grab a boat and go up and harvest. But yeah.
But as I said, like it'd be interesting how the oxygen business would survive once this technology comes into play.
But so that's not oxygen, that's air.
Yeah.
So that's got all the other chemicals that are there as well. It's not just pure oxygen. Yeah. Because pure oxygen actually, most people can't actually live with it. The more pure it is, you need the other bits, other particles and gaseous formations that are in air to be able to breathe properly.
Remember the good old days, fellas, when the oxygen bar was a trend?
That was in the good old days.
The 90s.
That was only a couple of years ago.
Yeah, well, it was
not
popular.
That old. My youth isn't rapidly slipping away.
Yes, it is.
But it was
every
amazing.
day it gets further and further away. Every second of every minute of every hour, you get older.
No, Bucky, we can't scare the professor too much.
Just think, a few years from now, you'll start going bald like the DJ.
Nah, not with my genetics.
But as I was saying, like, could you imagine the rise of the oxygen bars with this coming along?
I can't imagine it would be any more special than any other pure oxygen.
At the end of the day, I can't see it being that much of an issue. Like maybe if you're on Mars or somewhere like that, it will happen. But if you're on Mars, it's going to be more of a matter of survival. So yeah, like this is going to be for interplanetary travel and space exploration and that sort of thing, rather than a bunch of half-wit yuppie hippies sitting in a tent with a pipe shoved into their face at an oxygen bar, trying to make themselves look better. Like, I've sat there and I've breathed oxygen in at the hospital after I've had an accident and stuff, and I have to say, you walk out feeling $1 million. But yeah, this is more a matter of looking at survival and expanding our horizons.
Yeah, but speaking of mastery of the universe, DJ has something for us next.
I have the power.
There goes another one of my childhood dreams.
Oh, it's not that bad. Come on, it's Masters of the Universe.
No, Masters of the Universe is good. Just the way you said it just sounds camp.
Well, do you want me to go full on? I mean, I could go full on.
By the power of Greyskull.
if you have your voice drop a couple of octaves, like, I don't know, like, yeah, finish going through puberty and get that deep masculine voice that He-Man has.
But his voice isn't deep. Haven't you heard that song? The one where he's all like, "Hey, what's going on?"
I have no idea. Yeah, strike two on the song identification thing, man.
It's like the video that somebody made of that song by what are they called? Two Non-Blondes. The song's called "What's Up," and they made
Four
a music
Non-Blondes.
video. Four Non-Blondes, is it? Yeah.
You're only half the way there.
Video using Hitman. No, not Hitman. Why did I say that? He-Man.
I think we should just back away slowly from this one.
Yep, I'm with you there.
Let's smile and nod and just forget it happened.
Yep. So, Kevin Smith, famous for his works such as Clerks, Mallrats, Jay and Silent Bob Strikes Back, and famous for other for his podcasts such as SMS Modcast, Fat Man Beyond, and Hollywood Babylon Line, has announced on PowerCon that he is spearheading a Masters of the Universe animated series called Masters of the Universe Revelations, and so this will pick up where the 1980s animated series left off. Unlike the recent Netflix reboot, She-Ra and the Princess of Power. So this one
wasn't She-Ra the Princess of Power, so wasn't She-Ra and the Princess of Power.
The recent Netflix one is called She-Ra and the Princess of Power.
Netflix is screwed up again.
Oh, you haven't seen the end of that She-Ra one or the new She-Ra. Trust me. So. For the new one, for the new season, it's going to be focusing on unresolved storylines. And the best part about this is that the people behind the Castlevania series on Netflix will be the ones doing the animation for Masters of the Universe. Okay. And so, Smith said in the press release, Revelations will pick up right where the classic era left off and tell an epic tale, which might be the final battle between He-Man and Skeletor, brought to life with the most metal character designs Powerhouse Animation can contain in the frame. This is the Masters of the Universe you always wanted to see as a kid.
Hang on a second. How is Kevin Smith producing an anime?
But he's pretty famous.
If it's an animation, that's one thing. But I hate it when the Americans say they're making an anime. They just don't have the artistic ability and passion that the Japanese bring to making an anime.
I don't know. I mean, look at the old styles like Avatar: The Last Airbender and the old Teen Titans series. I mean, they were classed as American Japanese anime. American
or Japanese? It's not American Japanese. But yeah, like you it's just no. I'm sorry.
You got a weeb has rejected this.
I'm not just a weeb. It's just the Americans just claim that they're able to do everything and they just suck at it. Like, there's so many things that Americans screw up, especially like the live adaptions and remakes of stuff. Like, I'm sorry, there's just there's certain times in life when you just think, I wish America actually stuffed up with their building of the nuclear bomb and blown themselves to pieces.
Well, if they hadn't nuked Japan, we wouldn't have anime, right?
No, we probably would have, because the Japanese probably would have still come up with the artistic stuff and the stories, because they got people over there that were going to be crazy and excited and passionate and come up with all this sort of stuff. It's kind of like saying, like, people, like, they have those posts that come up on Facebook. What would you rather? You got to get rid of all these things. You can only keep keep two of them. And they've always got, like, all these different things, whether it's like cartoons and comics and all these other different things. They've always got alcohol and caffeine or coffee. You know, if you're going to get rid of all of those things and only keep two of them, keep the alcohol and the coffee, because those two things are paramount inclusions for creating so many of the fun things. Like, computer programmers live on caffeine, so we need coffee. Artists tend to mainline between either caffeine or alcohol, depending on the time of day. So, therefore, we're going to get animations.
But you were saying how Netflix is stuffed up. Okay, so look, with She-Ra, the Netflix version and the old She-Ra. What do you see when you see the comparison of these two?
I don't want to look. You're scaring me.
Well, that's
more than normal.
Well, that's what Netflix has done. But by that being said, though, it's interesting how the timing of the announcement is interesting, because Netflix is recently, a lot of things have happened to Netflix recently. Like, they've lost a lot of money in value, like $17 billion drop.
Yeah, their first mistake was cancelling Santa Clarita Diet.
Well, it's just they've also got lots of other competition coming through now that's actually putting up some really good content. Like, Amazon's got Amazon Prime, and then you also got Hulu.
Yeah, and you got the new ones like Disney Plus and all as well.
And there's also the English have gotten involved in it now as well. So there's one called Acorn TV, which has got all the British crime dramas and all that sort of stuff. So, yeah, Netflix has lost out because all the intelligent stuff's going over there. And, yeah, I've seen this picture you've got there, and, like, how seriously messed up can you get?
The storylines have been changed in the new She-Ra series. Trust me, it's not like the old She-Ra we know and love back in the day. But yeah, there's the other announcement that came out a couple of days ago, where they've laid off a lot of staff members for in the animation department, so especially the kids and family original series department, original animation department, business and legal, and interactive. So, man, Netflix is going through a tough time. I mean, even with this announcement, I mean, I'm kind of doubting whether this series might be successful.
Well, if it goes anything like the She-Ra thing has done, yeah.
Yeah, there's an article I've been reading there. There were a couple of reasons why Netflix have cancelled. One of them was also keeping it in-house. So it fits the profit line. Netflix original since House of Cards, but some of the originals are more original than the others. So
more original. How do you get more original than the others?
So
He-Man isn't original. They're copying. They're taking something that's already there. So that's not original.
Yeah, I think it's just more of they want Netflix only, not like partnerships with like She-Ra is a partnership with DreamWorks and Pixar, and so they just want Netflix only. And that's what they're trying to hone in. You're not liking this at all, aren't you, Buck?
I'm just wary because Netflix is kind of stuffed up lately on a few things.
Yeah,
like,
I agree.
The end of Game of Thrones. Like Game of Thrones started off really well, and like there was bits and pieces there at the final battle that, yeah, I loved so much. And I love the twist with the fact that Jon didn't actually get to kill the Night King.
Oh, man. Spoilers.
If you hadn't heard about that by now, then I'm sorry. You've been living under a rock. There's so many people been complaining about the fact that it was Arya that, yeah.
Yeah. Game of Thrones made a lot of people very angry.
I find it hilarious with the Game of Thrones was how Daenerys' character development just crumbled in that last season. from like this. It's like she was Jesus from like season 1 to I think season 7, and then in the final season, it was she just changed to Hitler and a dragon.
No, I don't remember ever being seen as Jesus. She wasn't Hitler. Like, there's rumors Hitler used to wear drag, but don't think it would have been quite that attractive. No, like there was always the build up there to show that she could go crazy because she was always pretty, like, she's pretty straight down the line with certain things. Like when she first gets the Unsullied and she uses the dragons to kill the slave master. Yeah, she's shown from the beginning that she was willing to do that. Like, she helped cause the death of her brother. So yeah, all of her character development, she did have that ruthless aspect to her.
But I will say that last season, I think it divided a lot of people. And the whole, like, I think that I think George R. R. Martin was saying like he was not happy either with the final season and how it went either. So
of course he said that because people weren't happy, so he wanted to try and save face.
But yeah, and he said that he was basing the final season on the book, on his new book. So and yeah,
isn't his new book a prequel?
No, the new book is going to be the final 2 books are going to be the final of the Game of Thrones series.
So how are they going to do that when he hasn't released them yet? Because I know he gave them an outline of what was going to happen. Because
he said that he's based the ending on he gave, I think from what I gathered, he said something about the ending of Game of Thrones. So I've got to find it.
Yeah, I think he mentioned that he was changing it. I don't know. I don't follow it.
Yeah.
Funny thing for Game of Thrones is I still remember all the controversy surrounding the fact that they actually approached the makers of Skyrim and asked them to start making it so it was more like the Game of Thrones world. And they were just told, no, go away. Our game is great. Get lost. Don't ruin it.
Buck's not biased there at all.
Hey, I didn't say it. That was actually from Bethesda Studios. Like, that was one of the best calls Bethesda's done in a long time. They didn't change Skyrim to be Game of Thrones, and they didn't allow Game of Thrones to take content from Skyrim. Although, technically, when you look at George R. R. Martin's novels, a lot of the stuff does seem to be a bit of a hodgepodge where he's stealing ideas from all sorts of people.
Yeah, but back to, I think we strayed away from
Let's get back to the fact that I have the power.
The other interesting thing is I like how they're not doing a reboot or a remake of He-Man. It's basically continuing on from the old series. It reminds me of Samurai Jack, how the recent season of Samurai Jack was the final season. It was basically continuation from all the old seasons, and it was pretty good. It was pretty well made.
Yeah. But with there's a lot of those, like when you look at some of the, like, because Samurai Jack and all that, when you look at the actual content, it allows that to happen. It's also the same as with Ghost in the Shell. They've just done a big reboot for some of that, but they've stayed true to the storyline and the characters and all that, and it still works. Or even Appleseed. Like, you got some of the animes where they lend themselves to that reimagining and telling the story from a different angle, or continuing the story into a new phase and episode.
Yeah. So I'm assuming you guys will watch it just for the nostalgia's sake?
I don't know. I haven't watched the new She-Ra. I actually managed to scrub it from my memory until you showed me the picture.
Yeah, well, I'm a really long way behind in a lot of other shows I want to watch, so I probably won't.
Makes sense.
I'm sure there's going to be something on Amazon Prime that'll probably be more intelligent.
Anyway, our final topic for the night is about the Australian Censorship Board. Can you tell I'm not fans of them? The Australian Classification Board has decided to ban a couple of games in the last week. They are Kingdom Come Deliverance and DayZ. DayZ was banned because of future content involving weed, so marijuana. And Kingdom Come was banned. It's the DLC actually looks like it's been banned. I just found out about this tonight. Yeah, so somehow Kingdom Come has been banned, which I think is probably because there's a implied sexual assault scene, although there was also one in the original game, so I don't know why that wasn't banned. But Bohemia has gone the Bethesda route and decided to modify the game in the entire world to meet Australian standards. So way back in the day, in the old age, 2007, Fallout 3 was banned because there were morphine injectors. They just did a find replace and changed the name to Med-X, and that was okay. But now DayZ is going to have the use of marijuana, so Bohemia is taking out marijuana so that the board doesn't complain and ban it.
Yeah, but it's not just the reason why they're smoking marijuana is the fact that it's supposed to be a health boost. So I can't see where smoking a joint is going to restore the health of a person in a battle situation.
Well, judging by what a guy I know used to post on Facebook, it apparently cures every type of cancer, hypertension, stroke. Did I mention cancer? Mental illness, brain damage.
Was he one of these? Was he one of those weirdos who used to wear like a tie-dye shirt and tie-dye happy pants and have dreadlocks and not bathe regularly?
And he sounds like, "Hey man, what's up, man?"
He was nothing like that. He was just a stereotypical weed bro.
Yeah, but like DayZ, looking at the article here, it's smoking weed as a health boost thing. Kingdom Come there's the sexual assault, and the other one you're mentioning last night. We Happy Few.
Oh yes, We Happy Few got banned as well.
And they're drinking whiskey and doing drugs.
Well, the whole plot of that game is like a cross between 1984 and A Brave New World, and your character can do a drug. I don't remember what it's called, but it basically gives you the happy view of the world. And if you stop taking the drug, then you get the sad view, which has all of the people in ragged clothes and the rats and stuff.
That just reminded me of the old Simpsons episode when Lisa Simpson was suffering depression and the school counselor recommended her to take drugs, and she starts seeing everything happy.
It's probably, knowing the Simpsons is probably a homage to Brave New World.
Yeah.
But I don't know, man. This is what I think of the Australian censorship board right now. When they see those games, they'll be like, "Oh, will somebody please think about the children?"
Well, that's the other thing. It was only a couple of years ago that we finally got an adults-only rating for video games. Before that, it was either it meets the M15 rating or it gets banned. So we could only play Left 4 Dead in a low gore mode, which included stuff like not even showing you that the zombies were on fire. So you had no idea whether that zombie was burning or not.
They used to have
directly impacted gameplay.
They used to have an R rating and an X rating for some of the games as well, but they got taken out because too many of the game companies complained.
Yeah, and our pollies think that games are for kids.
Well, no, because there was a lot of there was games like BMX, XXX, and they had Posty Boy or Newspaper Boy and
Postal.
And a couple of others like that, and there was another one where it was literally the whole point of the game was to run around and see how many people you could run over with your car, and there was stuff like that, and those games were being rated as R and X because they acknowledged the fact that the adults were playing these games and enjoying them, but then the game companies wanted it changed, so they lobbied and had those classifications removed and only brought it down to mature adults, 15 plus. But the encouraging drug taking, it's not just for kids there either, DJ. Like it's you're oversimplifying it and just being a complete tool with saying that attitude, because they're saying smoking a joint is going to make you be healthy. And it's that's just stupid. Like there's the classification standards, like they're not. They do a lot of censorship stuff for certain things, but they've got to try and be reasonable and make it so that it's not encouraging deviant and problematic behaviour.
Well, the other problem I've always had with it is that we've had R18 ratings for movies for decades.
Yeah.
Like, there's even an example. I've included the list in the show notes for the overturn section. The game Tender Loving Care, released in 1998, was banned because of high-impact sexual references and nudity. Was resubmitted as a DVD and was classified M15.
Like, I'm not saying they're getting it right all the time, but like sitting there and putting on a stupid voice and saying it's all just because of this. No, it's because there's a broad spectrum of it. And like, if you want an example of them getting it wrong, there's also the fact that at one point Enid Blyton was banned in Australia. One of our greatest children's authors, because of the fact that the whole storyline of her books just didn't fit with what they wanted. But then we also had Humphrey B. Bear was taken off of TV because he didn't talk and he didn't wear pants and all that sort of stuff as well.
What?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
and
Donald Duck was banned in Finland, I think, for not wearing pants.
Not even big ears were taken off because it apparently promoted homosexuality. And that wasn't just in Australia, that was worldwide. Yeah. That actually started in America.
The other thing about Noddy is that gollywogs.
Oh, yeah.
People are not too pleased with them and their stereotypical representation.
This is the problem, though. Like, we're getting while I was kind of being passé about the whole thing about the children, it's just how the government is trying to input everything, saying like, no, you can't have fun. No, this is.
They're not saying that. It's saying you got to be responsible, and they're saying to the gaming industry, you got to promote it according to standard, like the community standards, because they change over time. Like, what's acceptable today is completely different to what was acceptable 50 years ago. But 50 years from now will be completely different again. So they're not being the fun police. They're just trying to uphold community standards, because there's a lot of the shows that are happening, such as Game of Thrones we just talked about, that 20 years ago would have been classified as pornography and you wouldn't have been allowed to get it on TV, let alone stream. And so it just wouldn't have happened. So you got to be a bit more realistic in your judgment of that, mate. Like, it's not the government being the fun police there. Like, I don't agree with a lot of the stuff they come up with, but you got to consider that it's not just them. It's community groups that are polling for it. There's industry standards that are set and have to be abided by.
Yeah, the other thing is, though, that it was only a couple of years ago that we got 18 plus rating in Australia at all. Before that, it was, if you don't fit into M15, you are completely banned. And it just hasn't, like, I honestly don't think that it's changed that much, just having it in. There were a couple of big ones before, that didn't pass under the old rules that were reclassified. You can check out the overturned list in the list of banned games in Australia in the show notes. But especially, like, Left 4 Dead was banned, got re-released without gore, and then got a gore patch allowed to be put in.
But I like how before the gore patch got put in, there was someone wrote an article as soon as Left 4 Dead came out. Left 4 Dead came out that you can fix the game code.
Yeah,
and make it.
But that would stop you from getting any achievements or playing in multiplayer. Because it counted as a hack.
And the other thing to remember is you've got some of the people out there that are doing some of the things that are referred to as artistic. And the only thing that makes it artistic is the weird twist and so forth of how it's supposed to be delivered. Like, there was that 2-part movie or whatever it was it Nymphomaniac or something? Which is literally just basically pornography. and I mean like hardcore stuff happening, and it's apparently artistic in inverted commas, and I've seen lots of people who don't want to actually, who have gone on to see some of it because it was being referred to as this amazingly brilliant thing, and they've walked away disgusted because it was so it's just purely it was just straight out hardcore sex.
Oh, I remember speaking.
And that was released as an R rating originally.
Yeah. Speaking of disgusting, though, I think that was banned in Australia. Remember Human Centipede and how that was bad?
Well, that's on Netflix now, so that one obviously got overturned. Or the government's just not paying attention.
Well, we'll probably still have an R rating, but yeah.
Although it is a movie, so it would have come under the movie ratings, which are, as I mentioned earlier, less strict than the game ratings.
Mm-hmm.
But one good point here that I found just at the moment is that I've just looked up the members of the classification board, and the average age of them has dropped significantly since I last researched this back in 2013 or so. Back then, there were a bunch of old fogies. Now we've got people in their late 20s, early 30s, bringing the age range down.
But what do you call an old fogey? Like, you called me an old fogey at times.
Your point about it being a community classification.
Like, I can understand having the different ages.
Yeah, so if you wanted to meet the standards of the community, you need to be representative of the community.
Yeah, I can understand that, and I respect that idea, and I've had problems with that for a long time myself. But yeah, it's just sometimes you have to protect idiots from themselves. Like, we got a whole range of laws for health and safety, which are aimed to stop stupid people from killing themselves. And yeah, it's the same with some of the movies and games. You just got to say, yeah, look, like, because what is it? Is it Mortal Kombat where we had the guys going off with PTSD?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, you think about the fact that you're going to have kids that are playing that. Like, that's got a what, MA15 rating? I can guarantee you there's 7 and 8 year olds that are out there playing it that are going to be watching that. And at some point in the future, they're going to have issues with something or other. And it's not game violence. It's just the continued exposure to certain conditions impacts psychologically. And yeah, like the DJ's playing that. And look, he's just getting weirder. Like, he's doing crazier voices.
I actually reckon, like, Mortal Kombat's one of the ones I don't agree with their rating for, because it is such a focus of the game to have the gore in that. So, like, there's
got to be a balance there somewhere, and we have to try and stand up and say, yeah, look, this isn't right for certain things, but in other ways, there's other things that need to be changed as well. So, yeah, recommend, like, the game sitting there and saying, oh, smoke a joint, it helps recover you when you're being beaten up. I think the only thing it's going to do when you're being beaten up is make you just become chill and relax, and then get the munchies.
Bro, it's all cool. Knock out my other teeth.
Yeah, like, I saw a cartoon the other day. There was about being stoned to death, and they actually showed 2 guys sitting there smoking marijuana. And yeah, he was saying, oh, when they said stoned to death, I thought they meant they're going to throw rocks at us. And the other guy goes, yeah, no, it's more the fact that we're going to have the munchies so bad, and they're going to starve us to death. So this is actually worse. Like, yeah, there's some. We just got to, I don't know, just be a bit more realistic on some of these things. Like, if they're going to be doing the violence and all that, they've got to do that. They've got to, I don't know, be a bit more intelligent.
The problem I have with it, though, is I just don't like how the government wants to intervene into it. Like, you have the loot boxes recently. Like, yeah, sure, it's a good idea. We need to regulate the loot box industry.
Watch out, we've got a libertarian over here.
Well, you can't have one without the other.
Mm.
Like, you got to sit there. You got to have it so that it's one thing or the other, and it's not. Like this, the classification board is actually an independent body. They don't actually listen to the politicians. The politicians can lobby them.
Yeah, there's no politicians on there anymore, as you see.
Like,
Back in the day, one of them was can't remember who he was. He might have been the former governor of South Australia or something.
Yeah, but he wasn't a current. He was like he started back in the Australian Classifications Board started in the 1970s, I think it was. I posted a link there just before. And before that, it was we followed the British classifications, and it's just there's a mandate of rules they have to follow, and it's one of the hardest things they have to do. But some of the stuff that they have to watch, like there's one of the things I remembered when I was doing my undergrad in psych was the fact that there are people who work for the classifications board that they have to regularly go for a counselling session every month because of what they see and witness when they're going through and reviewing stuff. Because there's some things that are banned from being able to come into the country that are just utterly disgusting.
Yeah, well, they let the DJ in, so...
Well, here's one of the things to consider, right? With the classifications board, by having different, like there's certain things that aren't allowed, and rightly so. Like one of the things that it stops is there was that artist who had an exhibition a few years back where he had
the
pictures
one with the
of
underage girls.
Oh yeah,
it was underage girls and boys. Like he had nude pictures of I think it was an 11-year-old and a 13-year-old girl and a 12-year-old boy in the nude, and apparently that was art, and that's art in huge inverted commas. So it's and that entered the country. That had been on exhibition in America and Europe. It came to Australia and people protested about it. The classifications board walked in and had a look at it, and they just got no. And the police came in and just took control of the entire exhibition and seized it all and took it away to be investigated. And they were looking at charging the guy because under the classifications, that's child pornography. But he goes, it's not pornography, it's art. I'm sorry, but a photo of a naked child is child pornography.
Yeah, I remember reading about that. That guy's excuse never quite sat right with me. I wonder where he is now, but I'm not going to bother looking because I don't care. Anyway, we're having a great discussion, but we should move on to something a bit lighter. What have you been playing this week, Buck?
I've been playing D&D, Dungeons and Dragons.
And you told us you had a good story about this. So, what is it?
Well, I've found a group at uni that have the QUT Dungeons and Dragons Guild, and my group and I have been battling away, going through different bits and pieces, and we've generated our characters, and it's a lot of fun. And it's a good social interaction with lots of humor. So for those who haven't played Dungeons and Dragons, it's not a bunch of weirdos running around with swords attacking each other and doing drugs, and that's DayZ.
No one's attacking each other in DayZ because the game doesn't work.
Okay.
I honestly don't know. I haven't played it in over a year.
But it's basically it's all the imagination and the role play. So you're using the dice, but you also play out your character as well to get bonuses from your dungeon master or game master. But we're sitting there, and it's also looking at the mechanics of how you generate the characters is just so much fun. A lot of people don't truly appreciate the complexity of generating a character. But I'm running around and I've played Dungeons and Dragons on and off for years, but I've never actually really sat down and researched creating a warlock. And I've done it this time, and I'm pretty much in love. I'm loving the amount of things you can do with generating your character. So, and we're actually talking just before we started recording about the fact that if you generate a barbarian as a dragonborn, and you keep getting strength bonuses and building up the strength aspect with your XP and all that, when you get to get the rating to 20, you get double strength, I think it is. And then because you're Dragonborn, you get a +2 bonus modifier to your strength. And then if you have him as a barbarian, when you get to a certain level, you get the I think it's level 3. You get you can choose Totem Warrior, and then at level 6 you choose Bear Totem. You can be running around with 2,400 pounds. So yeah, but in the game I've been playing, we had a Northic we had to battle who was hiding in a crevice in the ground, and we had our fighter go down because that's what fighters are for. They're the ones that go down in front and get attacked first because they're apparently the butch. While the party's wizard and my warlock were standing up on top, and yeah, we had to come to the rescue of the fighter. And this was after having destroyed a smithy, so that the group of bad guys that we were fighting against couldn't come back and re-equip themselves with weapons. So yeah, like there's been lots of fun, and it's actually in real life. So it's not a board game, it's not a computer game. It's actually having social interaction face to face. Although you can do it on Discord and different formats over the internet. But yeah, thought I'd go for a change in my game this week rather than just computer games.
Well, I've been playing dice games too, but in this case it is a computer game. It's DayZ Dungeons. It's a roguelite where you play as a anthropomorphic die and fighting against the army of Lady Luck on a game show. So it's turn-based. You have a set of abilities that you take to battle. Then you roll your dice and assign the numbers to the different abilities. Fairly standard stuff. I'm enjoying it so far. It's pretty hard, as most roguelites are. I'm looking forward to getting deeper into it. I've actually been playing it tonight and unlocked a new character. But I've been enjoying the robot who has, instead of rolling dice, has a sort of blackjack mechanic where you press a button to get dice and you can go up to a limit number. But if you go over, you basically wasted your turn.
Sounds pretty cool. I'm actually looking at the video, and I love the fact that the people get changed across into the different dice. So you have your different Dungeons and Dragons characters, such as the rogue and the witch and all that, are turned into the dice.
Yeah, it's got a lot of charm.
I love the fact that people are coming up with these games that aren't just the standard run around and bash things. You got to use some imagination and intelligence.
That's the beautiful part. That's the beautiful part about it. Like, I mean, you get games like Skyrim and all. Like, you gotta think of ways how to defeat the enemy instead of just charging it in and getting hammered.
Yeah.
I mean, you can do that. You can play as the fighter.
But even then, like, you still have you have to work as a team in, like, especially like the Dungeon Dragons. I'm not sure with DayZ Dungeons, but I'm guessing you got to try and work your dice into different aspects. So, like you were saying, you unlocked another character. So yeah, I'm loving the. It's just the sheer intellect of this sort of stuff. The fact that it needs you to think.
Yeah. Now, what have you been playing, DJ?
I've been playing Mortal Kombat 11.
No,
DJ. We told you to play something else. Bad.
Didn't you listen to us when we were talking about the fact that this is connected to PTSD? Hang on, you're the one who brought us that story.
No, that was me. That was the professor.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that was me.
Okay.
I've been playing it because new content has been released recently. So I've been trying out the new contents. One of the new contents include the new character, Nightwolf, a fan favorite of the franchise. He's added into it, and it looks pretty cool, gotta admit. And just yesterday, the new character trait combat pack, actually they call it, where the new characters are coming out. So you've got Shang Tsung, Nightwolf, Spawn, Terminator, Joker, Sindel. So some of the old fan favorites and some new characters are coming in. So yeah, I'm pretty hyped for the next few months and weeks coming along.
Hang on a sec. Is Disney going to try and dictate who they can have in this? Like, kind of like they've been having all the issues with Sony not letting Disney have Spider-Man for the MCU because they're not maintaining the standards that they agreed to.
I don't think so. I mean, they're going to be using this game to promote like other works, like the Joker is going to be coming in just in time for the Joker movie, and Terminator. Well, yeah, new Terminator is coming out soon, but
And a new Spawn movie.
I know what the new Spawn movie will be coming out pretty soon, but yeah.
So we're getting Disney characters in Mortal Kombat.
No, although actually, hang on, who made Terminator? Was that Fox Studios?
Yeah, that's Fox.
So yeah, he's now a Disney character.
So it's only one step from having Disney-owned properties like Marvel and Fox to Disney-owned properties like Frozen. I want to build a snowman with your soul.
And well, actually, that raises a question. What's the chick from Terminator?
Sarah Connor.
Sarah Connor. She's now a Disney princess.
So is Ripley, and also the alien.
Yes, the Alien Queen and Ripley are also Disney princesses. Now, do you want to go and tell them that you want to build a snowman?
Oh my god! But yeah, I just can't wait for the new stuff, for the content to come out. So yeah, then I've been having fun with the Nightwolf fighter that they've been released. So yeah.
Awesome. So what's Nightwolf's special moves?
He's got Rhino Charge.
Hang on, he's a wolf. How does he have Rhino Charge?
He just shoulder attack. He's just it's like Johnny Cage's Shadow Kick, but similar. But Nightwolf's one is just a shoulder barge.
I gotta wonder about some of these people.
So anyway, we should get on with the shout-outs. Our first shout-out this week is from the 19th of August, 1692. The Salem witch trials began. 5 people, 1 woman and 4 men, including a clergyman. This is the end of the witch trial. So 5 people, 1 woman and 4 men were executed after being convicted of witchcraft, including Giles Corey, who has the most badass death speech ever. They were crushing him to death with stones because they wanted him to confess, and he refused to confess because legally that would mean his property would go to the church, and he wanted his property to go to his family. So they were dumping rocks on him, and when they asked him if he was ready to confess, he just said, "More weight."
I thought he was.
Actually, I think. Do you think it was actually more? Oh hell no! Wait. Yeah. They killed him before he got to do anything else, and they just misunderstood him.
Like the stoning scene in Life of Brian.
Yeah, or the crucifixion. Always look on the bright side of life.
Now, you've only included 5 people in the execution there, but I just brought up the Wikipedia page, and 19 were found guilty and executed by hanging. I think there's a mistake in the show notes, DJ. 14 women and 5 men, and Giles Corey was an extra one who was crushed to death, and at least 5 people died in jail.
And one of the people involved was actually a member of the clergy.
Yes, did you know that, DJ?
Oh yes, I know.
Anyway, enough gentle ribbing with barbecue sauce. The next one is the 19th of August, 1953. During the Cold War, the CIA and MI6 helped to overthrow the government of Mohammad Mossadegh in Iran and reinstate the Shah Mohammad Reza Pahlavi, the last Shah of Iran. The coup is referred to as Operation Ajax by the CIA. In Iran, it's referred to as the 28 Mordad 1332 coup d'etat after its date on the Iranian calendar. And the next one, on the 19th of August, 1967, the Beatles single "All You Need Is Love" hit number 1. In a statement to Melody Maker magazine, Brian Epstein, the band's manager, said it was an inspired song and they really wanted to give the world a message. It cannot be misinterpreted.
Mm-hmm. It's still one of the top classic songs for top rock songs going around at the moment.
Yeah, it's still very popular.
Although I have to say that it's nice to see that one of the people in the Beatles has finally made it big, because he's got to do his song with Kanye West, so his career's finally going to take off.
I feel like he made that joke last Beatles.
Yeah, but it's still funny and sad that people are actually dumb enough to not realise that sort
And
of
our
thing.
next sad thing, though, on the 19th of August 2013, the Damara Ghat train accident kills at least 37 people in the Indian state of Bihar. The accident triggered a protest by passengers who beat the driver unconscious, attacked staff, and torched 2 coaches of the train. And remembrances. On the 19th of August 1662, Blaise Pascal, the French mathematician, physicist, inventor, writer, and Catholic theologian. He was a child prodigy who was educated by his father, and his earliest work was in the natural and applied sciences, contributing to the study of fluids and clarifying the pressure and vacuum.
Mm-hmm.
He died of stomach cancer at the age of 39.
Yeah, and lent his name to the computer programming language, Pascal.
Yeah, on the 19th of August 1802, Jean-Baptiste Joseph Delambre, the French mathematician and astronomer, died. He was the director of the Paris Observatory and author of well-known books on the history of astronomy. He was one of the first astronomers to derive astronomical equations from analytical formulas. He was a Knight of the Order of St. Michael and the Legion d'Honneur. His name is one of 72 inscribed on the Eiffel Tower. He died at the age of 72 in Paris. Next is Groucho Marx, the 19th of August 1977. The famous comedian with a great moustache. He died in Los Angeles, California at the age of 86.
And we actually noticed the other day when we're looking at this picture that at certain angles, if you had the DJ put a cigar in his mouth and grow a moustache, he would look very similar.
Yes, we did. And on the 19th of August 1994, Linus Pauling, the American chemist, biochemist, peace activist, author, educator, and husband of human rights activist Ava Helen Pauling, died at the age of 93 in Big Sur, California. He published more than 1,200 papers and books. As of 2000, he was rated the 16th most important scientist in history by New Scientist. Pauling was one of the founders of quantum chemistry and molecular biology. I could go on all night about what. Check out his Wikipedia page because it's crazy.
Yeah, like you looking at the photo of him, he looks like he might be part alien because like the way his head's shaped, it looks like he's actually extended the size of his cranium to fit a larger brain in.
And we had to squeeze in an remembrance at the last minute. On the 12th of August 2019, but only published in the last couple of days, Danny Cohen, a distinguished computer scientist, died in California at the age of 81. He helped develop the first visual flight simulator for pilot training, the first teleconferencing system over the ARPANET, which is impressive because the ARPANET was anything but fast. And he met his second wife over the internet, and is quite possibly the first person to do so.
And is living proof that for a couple of things. One, internet dating works. Two, computer games don't generate violence because flight simulators are essentially just giant computer games. And he was a peaceful sort of man.
Yeah, and he even wrote a paper on holy wars and a plea for peace. Now, back onto the birthdays. On the 19th of August 1871, Orville Wright, one half of the Wright brothers, was born in Dayton, Ohio. Now, the Wright brothers are obviously famous for their Wright Flyer, which we were discussing earlier. And also on the 19th of August, but in 1921, Gene Roddenberry, the creator of the Star Trek and The Next Generation, he flew 89 combat missions in the Army Air Force during World War II and was also in the Los Angeles Police Department. In 1985, he became the first V-rank star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame and was inducted into both the Science Fiction Hall of Fame and the Academy of Television Arts and Sciences Fame. He was one of the first humans to have his ashes carried into Earth. And we thank him for Star Trek, which is still going today in one of its many iterations.
Mm-hmm.
And on the 19th of August, Charles Wang, the co-founder of Computer Associates International Incorporated. He also had a computer company called Wang Computers. So there was a time in which it was appropriate to invite your friends over and say, check out my Wang. And on the 19th of August, 7, we have Satya Nadella, the engineer and Indian-American business executive. Satya is currently the CEO of Microsoft and has completely turned Microsoft around. Microsoft's now extremely different to what it was back in 2014 when he took over. His first major acquisition was Mojang, who made Minecraft, for $2.5 billion. He was born in Hyderabad, Telangana.
Mm-hmm.
And events of interest. On the 19th of August 1887, Dmitry Mendeleev makes the solar ascent by balloon to an altitude of 3.5 kilometers above Klin, Russia, to observe an eclipse. Because what's more awesome than watching an eclipse? Watching an eclipse from 3.5 kilometers in a balloon. At
least you wouldn't have had to worry about idiots standing in front of him while he's trying to get a good view.
Yep. We have on the 19th the first flight of the B-25 Mitchell medium bomber, named in honor of Major General William Mitchell, a pioneer of U.S. military aviation. The B-25 served in every theater of World War II and operated across 4 decades. Nearly 10,000 were built, including reconnaissance models, crew trainers, and patrol bombers. And last one here is the launch of SYNCOM-3, the first geostationary communication satellite. On the 19th of August, there's a bit of a pattern going here. 1964, the satellite in orbit near the international dateline had a wideband channel for television and broadcast the 1964 Summer Olympics to the United States from Tokyo. But that's all we have for this week. The DJ had in the lurch. So, do you remember where to find us, Buck?
Good coffee shops, any of the good gaming stores, such as Vault Games. Oh, you mean the show?
Yes.
Well, the twit is got us hidden on Twitter under the name @AnAmalgamated. We're on Facebook. We're on Spotify, iTunes, Stitcher. Our email address is it n.amalgamated?
No, I'm pretty sure our email is nerds, which I can check for us.
Or you can find us at tnc.com.
Yes, we are nerds.amalgamated.
Nerds.amalgamated at
I think we know
gmail.com.
that, Buck, after like 81 episodes.
Yeah, I don't send emails to myself, so...
Yeah, neither do I. He doesn't have many interesting things to talk about.
Nah. Where else are we? We're hopefully going to be at Supernova. Can't think of much more places we would be. Cinemas, watching movies.
Or in my case, in front of my desk playing more games. But that's all we have for this week. Stay hydrated and take care of yourself.
Are we going to do a shout out to anyone from TNC?
Good point. Do you have any recommendations for our listeners?
The humour experiment, is it? Or
that's exactly who I was thinking of too. Experiment.
So yeah, if you want to have a good laugh and so forth,
a different bunch of clowns.
Yeah, someone who actually is a professional clown, other than just crazy. Check them out.
And we'll see you next week.
Hooroo.